But well,
right off the bat,
come on.
we're like 10 seconds in, and
we're
already
not amateurs now. We're professionals.
I don't know. We're at 9 episodes.
I know. I was thinking about doing something next week for the Big Ten.
I've had thoughts for next week as well, like what we could do, and I have an idea.
Oh, okay. Do you want to podcast about it? Are we going to pre-podcast?
There's like so many. We have so many things. There's a couple things that we want to do today on this. But let's talk about this podcast, and then we can talk about that podcast.
Okay, let's table next podcast for after air.
We'll put it on the shelf.
Yeah,
as we've been doing. We've been putting things on the shelf. We'll put our next week's podcast on the shelf to talk about. We can talk about it at the end. We'll talk about it towards the end. Your ideas and my ideas.
Can we just stop and restart this entire thing?
Restart the whole podcast.
Yeah.
This one. So episode 9, like, hey, no way. No, we're good. This is us. Who cares? See?
I had to T-pose it.
T-pose.
T-posing isn't happening a lot these days. And I appreciate that because I thought it was an awkward, just thing kids were doing. I know that I'm older and therefore I'm not in touch with the youngins and their cool culture ideas.
That's true. You're not nearly as cool as you were.
But T-posing, I never got it.
And everybody was doing it. I mean, you'd get with different things that we'd be doing as kids. You just get your kids just sitting there this.
Just posing.
Like they're not even smiling. They're just standing there, just like I'm T-posing.
Yeah, between that and planking, but I felt planking was better somehow, which is weird to say. But if I had to choose between a T-pose and a plank, I'd choose a plank.
I loved the way that The Office handled planking. Especially with Andy going around using Dwight as his enforcer just to knock everybody down, just wherever they were. It was great. Erin, getting up off, she was planking on a curb. And or not a curb, it's the stopper in a parking spot.
Yeah.
She gets up and she's got dirt like a dirt line down the middle of her face, and she's like, "I love it. I love being a part of trends. I don't understand this one. I'm just glad to be a part of something." She has no clue what she's doing. So good.
Oh. So what did you want to talk about this episode?
So I would love to. I think our last episode was just pretty fun and kind of all over the place. And I've been thinking about one.
I giggled so much in the last episode. I was watching the entire. I was like, I'm just every few seconds I felt like I was giggling, which isn't a bad thing.
I just have to say, and I feel like I'm going to say this in every episode now, just to make sure it stays in every episode. I got a text message the day after we aired the last episode from my wife. And she sent me a text that said, "You put Dick Holden in the podcast."
I was listening to that on Monday when it comes out because I listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
And I giggled the entire time.
Well, I'm even as I'm editing it, it's so funny. Oh man, it's so funny. And so, and I just kind of replied back with yeah. It's really funny. But again, that goes to the whole things that guys find funny more than girls.
So what did you want to podcast this week?
So to really shift gears in the opposite way, I've been thinking about this for a number of weeks. It may have even been right close to the beginning of starting our podcast. But worship, and not and worship can be super, super general because there are so many ways to worship. There's so many types of worship. There's so many aspects to worship itself. But specifically in when does a song become a worshipful song? So I guess I'm talking about worship in the song sense. When does a song become worship? What makes a song worship? And then what do you do with the songs that aren't worship but are done by Christian bands? Right? So there's a weird what's worship and what's not worship essentially. And maybe there's not a clear answer, but we could chat about it. Right. And then you had something.
I did. A big thing happened for us the nerddoms out there.
For sure.
The Obi-Wan Kenobi trailers came out this week. On yesterday, actually, as we're filming this.
Yeah.
Because yesterday was May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th have been with you yesterday.
Yes. I hope the 4th was with you all day yesterday. Or 3 days ago when you listened to this podcast.
Yes. Now, I remember when anyways, we can come back to that
So
part
I want to watch the Kenobi trailer and then get a live reaction as best we can. I realize we both have already seen it a couple times, but we can talk about.
And we've never done a live reaction kind of thing before. So
we have not, so it could be interesting.
Who knows? Okay, so we got the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Excuse me. Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer and Obi-Wan Controlly. Jeez, I can't.
We have the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about some worship stuff.
Yes. Was that good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Let's podcast about it. That was the music. We just finished the music.
Yeah, we just
sat
finished the
here in
mix.
silence. But
Well, it gives you a good place. All right. And then I've already said let's podcast, but can we erase the first let's podcast about it?
let's erase all of this. Let's start all over. Where are we in? We're already in like 7 minutes in. Oh man, what are we doing? Who let us do this? Who saw on the notes like Jeremiah and Jesse want to do a podcast, and someone was like, "Yes, that's what we want."
That was you and I. You.
Oh yeah, that was us. And Anchor, I guess.
Yeah, and yeah, they give us the platform. That's the word kids use.
The platform.
It's a platform. And now that we have a platform, we have responsibilities. With great platform must also come great responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So
and I mean, we're still going to do whatever we want. But yeah.
Until the sponsors tell us not to, and then I'm going to sell out so fast.
That's true. We get a sponsor like, hey, you can only talk about these things. Done. Okay. Unless that sponsors pretzels.
Rolled gold, I'll do whatever you want.
No, I might have to walk. I will do the rest of the podcast with a bag over my face.
Rolled gold, please sponsor us now. Because I think that'd be a funny episode. All right, let's get off pretzels for a little bit. Let's talk about worship.
Thank you.
What were your thoughts on worship? What brought you to this point where you're like, this feels like something I should discuss, put it out to the world, let them know why my thoughts on them are correct and why everyone else is wrong.
Maybe my thoughts are wrong. That's what I want to know. Like I would like to bring my thoughts before the court, before the level 5,
before the court of public opinion, and level 5, before the Diamond Dogs.
The Diamond Dogs. Do we have a way we could incorporate that into level 5? We don't. We would have to just straight steal it.
Yeah.
Not like we would steal anything from any other podcast. No. Cut that.
Yeah, oh, you brought a receipt. You have a binder you're opening up.
I because when I experienced this worship song, I started writing notes because I was like, there's just something here that I don't want to just forget.
Yeah.
And so,
and which song is it in particular? Do you want to mention the song?
Yeah. So the song is, I think it's called "Come as You Are." Yep. It's David Crowder.
Come as you are, just as you are to worship. That little bit.
No. It's like the "Come brokenhearted wherever you've been." There's no sorrow that heaven can't heal. That kind of thing. It's amazing, and I've heard of the song a billion times, maybe not a billion, but I really like it. Right? There's something that connects with being broken and messed up and still being welcomed into church. I mean, belong is this huge part of what we do as a youth group, and even what I try to incorporate in just being with other people. Like there's come as you are. Like all the other stuff is something that Jesus will take care of. I believe that like change happens because of Jesus, not because of anything else. And so anybody who's broken or messed up or just has issues are welcome to church, welcomed at the table, to use that kind of metaphor.
And they're welcome as they are.
Right as they are.
Just as they are.
For sure. And because I think that's how Jesus
They can come out of sadness from wherever they've been.
Are you looking up the lyrics? Did you pull them up?
Yeah. I mean, I figured if you want to talk about it.
Hey, that makes perfect sense. And so I heard this song, and I believe in those words. I don't think there's anything wrong with it lyrically. But I heard it in a corporate worship setting.
Now, do we want to describe what corporate worship means?
Sure, go for it.
So corporate worship would just be a gathering of saints together worshiping God at the same time.
Right.
I think is a very basic definition of it. You typically see this on a Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. We're all in the main service listening to a pastor preaching, then we're listening to the band and worshiping along and through song with them.
Right.
And that's a corporate setting.
Right. And so as saints, just in case anybody's listening to this that is like, oh, it was weird, we're not Catholic. Saints is being just believers. People have put their trust in Jesus. They're following Jesus. They believe in Jesus of the Bible. And and so gathered together, singing together, worshiping, giving praise and acknowledgement and attention to Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So corporate worship.
I don't know what our audience is out there, so I don't want to try to use terms without at least trying to explain some of it to them.
And I think that's really good. Now I got to figure out where it is here. But as we were singing it, and so actually maybe I need to pull the words up too, just so I can see the actual words. But as we were singing it, nope, not that. That's for later.
So, yeah, I'm just looking at the lyrics right now, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay. And I think I know what you're going to go with this.
Yes. Okay. So here, I'll just read the first verse, whatever. Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come brokenhearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, O sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. And so then the chorus, so lay down your burdens, lay down your shame, all who are broken, lift up your face. O wanderer, come home. So the person who's wandering out doing whatever, you come home. You're not too far. Lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are.
Yeah.
Right? So like, it's brilliant. Like it's so good. And I think it speaks to a lot of people, which is another point to this. But when we sang it in a large corporate worship setting where we're all singing to Jesus, this song stuck with me as the question popped into my head: who are we singing to? Right? Because the words, the lyrics would indicate, really, like if you're really looking at the lyrics, you're singing to other believers or even people that aren't believers yet. And so, yeah. And so that's where I got kind of like hung up in that, in wondering like what is worship?
So, well, let's just, I mean, we're looking at what is corporate worship. What should that be looking like? And I have noticed that as of late, in the past, probably 15 years, I've noticed this. Mm-hmm. A lot of the worship songs we sing in a corporate setting are a lot of I-based songs. Mm-hmm. I believe this, I do this, I'm here for God. Like a lot of like I things. And I'm always questioning, like, why are we singing these I songs in a corporate setting?
Right.
It feels weird.
Right.
Now I had one church I went to, and they try to change the I's to like you, or not you, but like us, we statements. Mm-hmm. So, and that flowed a little bit better because it made it feel like we're a body that's worshiping together.
Right.
So I think that was a good way to handle it, because if you're trying to sing popular worship songs, because that's what people know right now.
Right. The things that are on the radio or whatever. Yeah, because a lot of culture today is I-centric.
Yes. Oh, very.
And so it makes sense. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I need to hear. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm experiencing. But is it worship? And if right. So like here's the couple different notes that I wrote down. Right. Like sure, it reminds people of who God is and how welcoming and loving God is, and God wants the broken and the weary. Like He wants them. He's calling them all to Himself. And so does that then become worship if you're reminding people of who God is? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think part of the problem is we're looking at this song by itself, and we're not considering within a context of an entire worship service.
Okay.
Where a worship pastor might be painting a picture or almost like painting a tapestry of the entire worship. Like, hey, the opening song is like, just come, come who you are. And then you might lead into some other songs about who God is. Yeah. Ultimately leading us up into, and the way our church does it, typically 3 songs. We do, what's the song we sing every week?
Speak, O Lord.
Speak, O Lord. Yeah, we do Speak, O Lord, just to kind of prepare our hearts to listen to the Word of God.
Right.
And then we go into the sermon, and that takes an hour and a half. And then we leave the sermon, and we go into another song of worship.
Did you say the sermon takes an hour and a half?
It did, and there was no reaction from you, and I was like,
Wait a minute.
It feels like that sometimes.
Sometimes it does.
But, and so there's like a whole worship set that's being built to bring people in, move them to a place where their heart is ready to hear from God, and then out of that hearing of God, you respond. And we do that through song typically.
Right.
We have a moment of confession as a corporate church as a whole. So I think it just kind of depends on where it fits in the thing and what like all the other songs that are wrapping around it.
Right.
If it's a song of, hey, come as you are, and then I believe this, I do this, right. Then I'm like, you're missing the corporate aspect of church, and I might as well just do that all on my own.
Right. As traditionally, or like generally speaking, when you sing a song, though, especially during church, right, it's this idea that I'm singing to God.
Yeah.
And so singing to God, and I find myself thinking this a lot during songs, that who's actually the audience of this song? Is God the audience? I mean, God is always the audience, regardless, right? It's he's everywhere, omnipresent kind of thing. Like you can't do anything where God's not an audience in one way or another. But as far as like the direct, like I'm specifically singing this to you, to adore you, to honor you, to bring glory to your name, to make you, famous, kind of thing. Like I want to, and so just it feels weird. I guess sometimes as I'm singing, it's like, wait a minute, should I be turning to the person next to me while I'm singing? Like, hey, come as you are, broken and weary person you are.
And I think it also, I mean, just because I know our church and the way it ends up playing out, like that first song, we don't always have the entire congregation there. That's the throwaway song.
It's true. It's usually about halfway through that.
And so it could just be the worship pastor being like, come. I don't care what you look like.
Just
I don't care about the argument you're having right now in the parking lot. Come.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would ever say those words, but
no.
But I think so I think that it kind of depends on, you look at the whole structure of the worship service, but I agree that there's a point where you're like, who am I singing to?
Yeah.
And why am I singing this particular song in a corporate setting?
Right.
Because there's like good father. You're a good father. It's about who God is,
Right.
And then you turn around and go, and I'm loved by you. And it's like, oh, why am I doing this in a corporate setting? I could do this on a solo setting.
Right. And so is that the song you were talking about? They changed it to like we? Because I've heard that too.
No, that was not. I was just, I've heard of other ones that they've done.
I've probably shared this with you before. I mean, level 5, I've shared everything with you.
I don't think you've shared it with the people on the podcast. So let's hear about that.
That's true. I guess
that I have no clue what to talk about.
We this is the first time.
Yeah.
I can't remember what conference I was at. I was at some kind of conference, and the
it might have been like the Gospel Coalition conference. I mean, maybe
it was small. So I remember it was smaller. It was a smaller setting.
It might have been like in Indiana.
Yeah, you weren't invited to that one.
I literally wasn't invited to that
one. And there were two people leading worship, both on guitars, and they were singing "Good Father," and they were trying. I'm not entirely like, I'm sure that their intentions were good, but as we're singing it, right, and so he changed the lyrics to like, "You're a good father," and so that's why we are loved, we're loved because of that, and this is who we are because of you.
Yeah, and it's important for us to recognize that our worth as human beings come from, not from without. It doesn't come from anything other than that God loves us.
Right.
I'm just trying to qualify because I know what's about to happen.
So somehow things switched. So if we're changing the that's who we are.
Yep.
The part about you are a good father switched to I am a good father.
So you as the singer effectively are singing
I'm a good father. Yes, I am. Yeah. And it was.
That's who I am. That's who I am.
That's who you. I think that's how we did. Like that's who you. It was the weirdest thing. And
I'm a good father. That's who I am. That's who I am. You are loved by me. Yes, you are.
Yeah. And so I think that they were like trying to take the position of like not being God themselves, but almost like we're listening to God singing these things about himself, and then we're responding to him. But it didn't come across well.
It doesn't sit right with me even as I'm hearing about it right now.
No, there was a lot of like, are we just gonna let this happen? Like, is this what's good? This is okay now? Like, that's
the moments though where you want to like, can I go up on stage and slap them?
Well, I'm sure like as times that I've led worship before that like sometimes in the moment you're like, oh, this is a great idea. And so you do it, but you can't really, it's hard to change course in the middle of a worship song once you realize you've messed something up.
We were talking about that right before the service, or right before we joined the podcast, where you recognized that last week I wanted to say a certain word, and halfway through me saying the word, I changed.
Yes.
Because that filter could kick on for one word, but for an entire song set, I don't know if it could kick on.
Tell you what, I will Venmo you $5 if you can pick the word from last week that Jeremiah switched halfway through it to censor himself. That's awesome. But going back to like this song specifically, "Come As You Are," like it's such a great song, and I think that the reason why probably most people don't think about it and they don't realize exactly the audience or who they're singing. And you're right. Like the entire worship set is something to take into consideration. But as you're singing it corporately together with everybody else, the song is hugely powerful, right? Like we are surrounded by people that are, including ourselves, broken. We've got sin in our lives. We've got things that are going on that we wish weren't going on in our lives. We have these different experiences that are going on. And sometimes, a lot of the times, those things can bear us down to the point where we feel like we can't move, to the point where we feel like we're not even accepted anymore. I can't come to church. I've got all this crap going on that I can't come to church until I can get this worked out, or until I can fix myself, or until I can be better, or I can, people that, struggle with drugs and alcohol, thinking like, I got totally wasted last night. I can't go to church. Like I'm still a little bit hungover. Right. But that's this. And so this song, like, totally speaks to that in the sense of like, no, you're not understanding like who God is. Like, no, this place is safe for you.
Yeah.
Like the closer you draw to God, like all those things God will take care of that stuff later. Like this is what you need to be, or this is where you need to be now. Like God is providing an opportunity for healing. And that comes from recognizing that you're loved, that you're cared for, right? You belong. And so all the changes will come later, but you got to first know that you belong here. And so like, I get this, like I get the song, and I get why you'd want to say it to people at church. But I wonder though, like if it being said is more impactful than being sung, if it's during the worship set, right? Like, which seems like a weird distinction. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I think if it's being said, it's typically being said by one person.
Right.
And so there's that call to come as you are. If it's being sung, it's typically being sung by the entire congregation.
Right.
And then it's like, wait, who are we worshiping in this moment?
Right.
If it's supposed to be worship, it's weird for me to be like, God, come as you are.
Right.
Come out of sadness, God.
Right.
Let the healing begin. I got you, God.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm within that position.
No. Dear God, do you need a shoulder to cry on? I got you, pal. Like, call on me. Lean on me. That's what I was thinking. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend.
I'll help you carry on.
Yeah, God.
Oh, now I'm thinking of the Footprints poem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can talk about that at a different one. That goes into my life. And I don't think we have enough time in the podcast to discuss my life and the thoughts on the Footprints poem. We'll table that.
Put it on the shelf?
Yeah.
We're going to end up needing to get an actual shelf that we can look to. I just wanted to share all that. I think, I don't know that there's really a resolution, because I think there's usually a bigger set that's going on. And so it's, it's important to keep it track of.
And I think there are differences in songs. Not every song is designed for corporate worship. Not every song is designed for individual worship. It should be, and I would hope, I'm not an artist, I've never written a song of inequality.
Yeah.
But I would think that the artist is taken into like their brain when they're writing the song or whatever, like an audience or who the singer is, and sometimes for the person writing the song, it's just themselves. But I would imagine that people that are writing worship songs are thinking, oh, this is a great song for a corporate setting.
Right.
You can look at the Psalms, like the actual Psalms in the Bible, and some of those songs are just David, like, Lord, have mercy on me.
Yeah.
And other times, like, no, this is a song for Israel to the choir master,
Right. Yeah.
So there are different aspects and different times when songs should be sung and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I do think, too, that, like, if a song that is written or sung or performed or whatever gives a moment or allows an opportunity that somebody takes to be drawn closer into the presence of God or into a relationship with God, then, man, win.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic.
But it comes down to, like, when should certain songs be put in? Like,
yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to, right? Is this song is designed for a certain moment, and that just because it's popular on the radio doesn't mean it should be sung in church.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going with just strictly K-Love songs or The Fish 95.9. We
They do good things. They do good things.
I mean, I do enjoy that my fiance enjoys listening to The Fish.
You enjoy that somebody else enjoys it. It's great, right? And I feel the same way.
I don't typically listen to Christian, and this is why people are like, oh, just choose a song, and I'm like, I'm gonna Google real quick.
Just choose a song.
Like hey, choose a song for this worship moment. Choose a song for communion. I'm like, songs for communion,
right?
And it's because I just don't typically listen to Christian songs,
right? So you don't have that mental library of Christian songs.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't listen to a lot of music these days in the car. I'm doing a lot more into podcasting and audiobooks and stuff. No, I think since we're in the middle of the cast, though, middle of the pod, if you will.
I was like the middle of the cast.
Yeah. It's I don't know, the podcast
show. Yeah, I get it now. We're right around the D.
Yeah.
Not. Oh God.
Oh, please cut that. Since we're in the middle of the podcast, I think it's a good time to give our special shout out of the podcast.
Special shout out.
So, Jesse, do you have someone you want to shout out this week?
I don't.
You have no one you want to shout out?
I love my wife so much.
Okay. It feels kind of like a cop-out. Great woman, though.
I mean...
To me, it feels like you didn't come prepared for a shout-out.
I didn't. I remember thinking about it earlier this week, and I was like, I don't know, who should I... And then I thought of something else.
Okay. I mean, you could have just gone off the cuff and said who you're going to be. Last week, I did a pretty good shout-out to Tom Holland, a.k.a.
That's true.
Peter Parker.
Yeah. No, let's be honest. Your shout out was to Peter Parker. It was not to Tom Holland. It was definitely Peter Parker.
You're not wrong. But this week I am gonna shout out Benedict Cumberbatch.
Okay.
Yeah. Benedict.
I thought we were shouting out people we knew. Do you know Benedict Cumberbatch?
If I did, you would know by now.
I was like, are we going to red carpet? Like, they probably already did a red carpet event, huh?
I've only done one red carpet event.
No, I'm saying for Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah,
that event's already happened.
Yeah, I saw it on the TikToks and the Instagrams, all the influencers that Marvel likes, which honestly is like the only reason I want to become podcast famous or famous on TikTok is to go to like red carpets. That's the only thing I want out of this. I don't need money. I don't need to be like a full-time influencer. I just
want the connections.
I just
want to go to an event.
Yeah. If I could get like a box sent to me.
Those are amazing.
I'm like, oh, I love your content, so I'm glad you got a box, but part of me is like, I want a box. But anyways, I'm going to give it to Benedict Cumberbatch. Tonight is the start of Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness.
That's right.
Or Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And I look forward to seeing it.
I've been seeing it just labeled as Doctor Strange 2, Mom. The first time I saw that, I was like, is it like a webisode? Like, what is...
Is it like DS2 MOM?
No. Just Doctor Strange 2, Mom.
Okay. I'm going to go with DS2 MOM.
And that took me a second, even because you just said it right now.
Trust me, I had to develop the acronym in my head after Doctor Strange 2. So
I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm impressed.
Because it's like HIYM, How I Met Your Mother. And so I was like, DRS2.
I am horrible at acronyms. I would hurt my brain. I'd a little bit of blood. I'd definitely pull an 11 if I tried to make an acronym on the spot. Like I just would. Everything would start shaking and blood would come out of my nose. And then I'd have to shave my head.
What? Okay.
By the way, love Stranger Things.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to season 4 coming out.
I just finished season 3. Like, it's funny to say I love it. I watched the first season, and then we waited for the second season. It started. I remember Liz and I watched the first episode, and then we got distracted with something and just never made it back. And then probably a month ago, I watched season 2 and season 3 and loved it. And I will say, not that this is a shocker, and I think we've probably talked about it on here, and I know that you've called me out for it before. I'm an emotional person. I get emotional. And that last episode of season 3 was emotional and amazing. It was so good. I loved it. I loved it so much.
I watched the Neverending Story part over the other night. It's just a little scene Like
So
it's the fun song of it, you know. Plus, it's the '80s, so there's a part of it, some nostalgia built in there. But yeah, that scene is good.
Yeah,
I don't remember what season 2 was about though. Like I know season 3 was the mall with the Russians. Season 2
was 11. Like she kind of like left and got hooked up with her like sister. Or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were like robbing banks or.
Yeah, they're doing stuff like that, and then isn't there like aren't they in a field or something like that? Like a field is being destroyed, or maybe I'm thinking of a different movie.
No, that was Will. Like Will was out in a field, and then it's all underground. There was that maze underground, the mine flare.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's been a minute since I've seen season 2. I enjoy the shows overall. I just don't really feel the need to go back and watch it. Maybe I will before.
It's weird to watch how big they get. Like just because they're growing, right? Like it's supposed to be like pretty consecutive, but because of how long it takes and how much you grow during those preteen, adolescent years.
And then COVID's also stopping a lot of that, so they're going to be like, flash forward 15 years.
Right. Yes, we're all adults now.
That was a big complaint of the Harry Potter series too, because they start off as 11-year-olds, and then by the time they're graduating from Hogwarts, they're like 22 years old in real life, and you're like, you look like you're 30, and you're supposed to be 17.
Right, something doesn't add up. You know what? I'm gonna stick my shout out with my wife.
Okay.
I really like her.
The one who doesn't like my nickname for my son.
I don't. You know, she never said she doesn't like it.
Okay.
She just can't believe we said it and left it in the podcast.
Okay.
That's what it was.
She did send me an interesting text message the other day, and I giggled to it. I'm not going to say it on the podcast. But Liz, I appreciated it. I will think it's funny when you do that, and I don't know if Carissa will agree.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but I do know that because of the part that we're about to get to here in podcast, because we're at the we're probably at the C now in our podcast, that she'll probably fast forward because she told me the other day, she was like, I have a confession to make. I fast forward through the Star Wars talk. Anytime we start like nerding out on Star Wars, she's like, I can't.
I mean, if you're going to fast forward, at least go 2 times speed.
Well, I think that's what she does. She speeds through it, like, and so.
Because I'll be honest with you, I do enjoy listening to some 2 times speed on YouTube. Just it's funny to hear our voices, as we're like little chipmunks.
So you can do 3.5 times speed on Spotify.
Oh, I haven't done that.
And I don't see how that benefits anybody because you can't understand it at that speed.
At 2 times I can understand enough, but I've also know the podcast, so I'm like, okay, I know
right.
It's like but it's still fun.
Yeah, it is.
I giggle a lot less when I'm at 2 times speed.
Well, what do you say? You want to try this?
Yeah, let's try this out.
I still have mine pulled up. I'm at 0. We can try to start this at the same time. I don't think I have my volume on though. How's that gonna work? Do you want to? Whoa.
That's a great question. I don't know.
So the idea is that we are on our separate computers. We are both gonna hit play at the same time.
Yep.
And experience the trailer.
That is the hope in this whole thing.
What are you trying to think? What are you doing? You're like, I don't know.
Let's just go ahead and hit play, and then I'm gonna mute. Wait, are we gonna talk over this?
Or
how do we want to do this?
I have no idea. I've never done this before.
So we might have to cut this entire thing. I don't know how it's gonna work with audio, like feedbacks and stuff.
Yeah. So if it feeds back, we'll cut it and we'll start over.
Sounds good. Let's go.
All right. Okay. We'll go 3, 2, 1, click.
Yep.
Like that.
That's how everything. It should always be a 3, 2, 1.
I know, but I always feel like we gotta ask.
You do because they're dummies as who think you should go on 1, which never makes any sense.
Yeah, because then it's like, well, why don't we just count down from 2?
Yeah.
Which is weird then. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I am over the play button.
You're
over
too.
the play button.
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, click.
I personally don't think that the Darth Vader sound and Obi-Wan, like those 2 scenes are completely different.
Which 2 sounds?
Like when Darth Vader's chest and he does the whole breathing thing, and then they showed Obi-Wan's eyes looking up. That's that's cut differently. So
Obi-Wan looked really old in that last scene.
Yeah, he looks weathered.
Like as he's because they're trying to make him a little bit look like Alex Guinness.
Yes.
From the original trilogy.
Which is
slowly.
weird because I think they're the same age.
Ewan McGregor right now is the same age as Alex Guinness was.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think they're the same age. But we've medical, way to take care of your body and stuff has changed so much that
It's easier to look younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I saw that once with they did the Golden Girls and the ladies from Sex and the City.
Okay.
And they're like, they're the same age. And then they just took the Golden Girls' hair onto the Sex and the City ladies, and they're like, yep, it makes way more sense. Like, just little things like that. Like, we associate hairstyles or whatever, or with ages. And, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, initial thought.
Okay. I think it's great. I don't know. I feel like the Disney Plus shows have been, for the most part, good. I really like the longer stories. I like the being able to get more character development and plot. Like, I really like that. But what I feel like I've also seen with just about all of them is that you get like 6 really great episodes and then, or whatever, however many. And then that last episode is like, everything's resolved or everything gets fixed or everything is done. And you're like, wait, we just spent so much time developing all of this and now it's just over? Like,
they spent like 5 episodes building up to something, and the 7th or 6th episode is just like and we're going to make sure it's all, it's like, why don't you do a nice little arc?
Yeah.
Like, build up to it, and then, but they don't want to sit there and they want people to come back for number 6, and if they're resolving everything or whatever, it might not be a good way to come back.
So I hope. I don't know if they're going to do, they're going to do a second season, or is this it? This will only be these 6.
I heard a rumor that the 2nd and 3rd seasons are like being planned out.
Okay.
So
that gives me a little bit more hope, right? That
Yeah.
like that it'll be good. Like they'll be able to do just one arc that maybe has a couple seeds that are planted for future ones, but it's not all supposed to be wrapped up right there and then it's done.
now, so first of all, let me just say, Star Wars fan, love Star Wars.
Yeah,
I am going to watch this show, and I'm probably going to love it.
for sure.
However, I am trying to figure out how this works out, because if Darth Vader knows Obi-Wan is alive, he would never stop looking for him.
Right. Because he was... Oh, wait, did he have any kind of indication that Obi-Wan was dead?
I don't think any indication that Obi-Wan was
Just
dead.
assumed it?
Well, I don't think he even assumed it, but I'm like, if these Inquisitor people are finding Obi-Wan in places, then Darth should be like, oh, something's going on there.
Right.
Why is he not chasing Obi-Wan? And because it looks like they're on Tatooine at some point.
Yeah.
So does he think that he leaves Tatooine and never comes back?
I don't know. Was it a... Right, because it's the Inquisitors that are chasing him, I guess,
Yeah.
that they're like fighting
Darth's,
together.
like, enforcers, so to speak. His special forces.
Maybe it's going to be one of those things. Episode 6, Darth Vader gets his memory wiped.
They're going to pull the R2 treatment on him.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I'm just like,
not.
I'm like, I don't. And then also I thought like Obi-Wan was going to go be a hermit.
So even though that's what happens at the end of episode 3,
Yeah.
maybe that's what ends up happening again. Maybe he started to and it didn't work. And so, but it will happen at the end of this series now that he'll actually be like, okay, finally I can go be a hermit and I just don't care about Luke anymore. And then the next time I see him, I'm going to pretend like I've never seen him before in my life.
Yeah, because he was obviously watching over him.
Right.
So he knew who Luke was when he showed up because he goes, oh, this is your father's lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So he knew who Luke was, right? And I can definitely believe that he's been watching over Luke the entire time.
Yeah.
But I was under the impression that he was trying to keep distance from Luke so that Vader wouldn't sense him and try to turn him to the dark side.
Because he doesn't sense him until the Star Wars movies.
Yep.
And so he wouldn't have until then. Now, did Obi-Wan pull now granted, this happened timeline-wise, story timeline-wise, the way that Luke turned himself off from the Force.
Yep.
Is that something that Obi-Wan also did? Now that it's possible, even though it's like the storyline is, now that they've declared that that's a thing that you can do.
Yeah.
To prevent Vader from, I don't know.
I
Now I've got more questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was fine, and now I've got questions.
I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know how Vader and the whole thing is going to play out. As I said, I'm going to watch it. I'm not taking anything away from the show at all. But I was just always under the impression that Luke born, Leia go to Alderaan, Luke go to Tatooine, and Obi-Wan's going to watch over Luke, and he just lives in the desert. And if you watch Clone Wars, and not Clone Wars, but if you watch Rebels.
Right. And I've not seen any of those. Yeah.
I do know that some things happen there, but to me, it's always taken away from this idea of he gave up his entire life to go watch over this this child.
Right.
And that was kind of his whole thing. But I think that the fans were like, we want to know what happens with Obi-Wan, all this stuff, and they started building us backstory in for him.
They're like, great. We'll tell you exactly what he did. Nothing.
And I mean, part of me feels like that'd be like, it's a 6. It could maybe that's what it is. But I mean, we see that he's fighting with people. Mm-hmm. Now, I did notice you never see him with a lightsaber in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like he fires a gun at one point, but I don't see him with a lightsaber. Now there's a point where some of the Inquisitors have lightsabers out there, and so maybe he has to pull it out at some point. Maybe that's going to be a big thing, or maybe, as you said, he's turned himself off to the Force, so to speak, and so he's not using a lightsaber purposely, so that he's not sensed by Vader and the Emperor.
Yeah, but I feel like I've heard in interviews or something that there was a reconnect of Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. That they were. I
have heard that
together. Because they talked about seeing each other and just like snapping right back into, Anakin and Obi-Wan. And so,
and typically in like the film process, like you don't show up for days you don't need to be there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't be, you wouldn't do that. Like you wouldn't just be like, we're just here hanging out. Yeah. I mean, maybe, I guess, but with the way that they shoot those things, you're probably not going to be.
And so, but then you have that line in episode 4 where it's like, the last time we met, I was just an apprentice or whatever.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was Mustafar.
Yeah, that they wouldn't have crossed paths again.
Yeah.
All that whole time.
That's the way I understood it. Now,
is J.J. Abrams a part of this? Because he likes time travel. Like he
Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are in charge of this one. And Filoni,
as well. Okay.
Well, yeah, they're kind of like the architects of the Mando Obi-Wan verse, whatever we're calling him.
Okay. Not Boba Fett.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah,
This is whatever that verse is called, right?
Is there a name for it?
Star Wars. Whatever the current like TV universes that they're in.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. But because I had my own preconceived notions about what's going on, like, I don't understand why we're doing this.
Huh.
And maybe. I'm also a bigger fan of expanding the universe out, or even going thousands of years in the past, or 40, 50 years in the future from episode 9.
Yeah.
And expand the universe that way.
I would love if they gave me $1 billion to do this. I'd need that much money to hire writers, but like to take the same time frame as even the original trilogy or even the sequel trilogy, the same timeline, but in another part of the galaxy. Like what's happening there? Like that's it. So it's the same world, but it's over. And so maybe the effects of the stuff that's happening that we know of in the trilogy has an impact on what's over here. But the story's over here. They don't know what's going on. They just know something's going on somehow.
Even if it's like in 4, 5, and 6, when it's like the Emperor's out there, and so they're trying to be good citizens of the Empire. But they're getting a little roughed up by the guards, and they gotta rebel against that. And it's not as impactful overall. It's not blowing up the Death Star.
Right.
But it's still a personal story or character-driven story about people within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I'd watch it.
I would hope that you would watch something you made.
That's true. That's right. That's how I started this. I made it. Yes, I should watch it. Well, maybe we can do that. Maybe once Kenobi releases, because they'll probably be Wednesdays. I mean, most of their shows are Wednesdays.
It's the 26th. So whatever day the 26th is. 11,
it's a Wednesday.
18. I think it's...
it's a Wednesday or a Thursday.
If only we had a system in place to pull this off. It's Thursday, according to...
No such thing exists.
According to this, it's Thursday.
Well, that'd be harder for you. But I was going to say, like, if we were able to watch it before doing our podcast and just give, like, 5 minutes... Here's what I thought. Here's what surprised me. Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't like.
Yeah, I like that.
Because then our podcast will air 5 days later. And so if you hadn't seen...
It's after the weekend. Yeah, it's definitely enough time. Yeah,
and so if you hadn't seen it, you probably don't plan on seeing it. And if you do, then you'll probably be late to it and you'll forget what we said.
Let's hope.
That'd be fun. Yeah. I mean, I could find time during the day to watch it before we record. I don't know if you'd be able to.
Yeah, I can definitely do it. I can make it work.
Cool.
All right.
Well, hey,
let's podcast about that in the future.
Yeah. Hey, real quick though, I got to take this down from the shelf.
Oh, okay.
Of what I think we should do for next week for our episode 10. Okay. What was your thought?
Oh, I had no thoughts. I was thinking. My thought was we should have a thought.
I had this idea of like, what if we did a similar thing that I'm about to suggest every 10th episode, right? Because we're gonna have at least, I don't know, what, 900 episodes. Like we'll just keep it going. But if and I think we had maybe mentioned it. I don't know if it was on or off the podcast, but we do a trivia podcast.
Ooh.
And so I spend the next 7 days coming up with Harry Potter trivia.
Ooh, okay.
And then you spend that amount of time coming up with The Office trivia.
Oh, okay.
And so so we could do that way, or like we just kind of go back and forth. Like you answer Harry Potter trivia, I do Office trivia, or we I guess I was gonna say, or it's like I'll ask the Office trivia, or you ask the Office trivia, and if I get it right, then I get a point. If you get it right, you get a point. But you would be making the questions, and so that makes no sense at all. So disregard everything I just said. Cut that. Just cut it. I'm the editor. I'll cut it.
I mean, it's kind of short notice, but maybe we bring in a guest question asker.
Yeah, we could. It'd have to be somebody who would be willing to like look through and find questions, whatever.
Yeah.
Right, because there are going to be Harry Potter quizzes out there that are just lowball. Same with The Office, and be like, oh well, that was nothing.
that was Kevin. Everyone knows that he was part of the band.
Scranton City, and Scranton City too. He had two bands.
He did.
But anyways, that's.
I just want to show the level of quality you're going there. Yeah.
But that, I think we could.
Okay.
And even we've got our podcast split in half, so we could just even do the first half of like me just shooting all of the Harry Potter questions to you, and then you spending the last half, or we just run it all the way through. But we can talk about it more offline and see if that's something we wanted to do, because we could even then do the next time, right? There's those Bible trivia games that are like generally pretty hard, but we all the cards are there, and so we just each take a stack of cards and just see how many the other knows.
Yeah. So you ever play the game Heads Up?
Yeah. That's isn't that the Ellen game?
Oh, the Ellen, exactly what it is. Yeah. I was playing that at Disneyland the other day with the fiance and a friend, and I had it on my head, and we were going over like I think it was Marvel characters or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they were superheroes. That's what it was. And I was going through it, and they're like, "Oh, it's Superman." And I was like, "Oh, Kal-El," going through the whole list, and I was churning through them. I'm a nerd. I get comic books. I'm going through it, and there was this guy and two girls in front of us that turned around and was like, oh, they're playing that game, so they're kind of watching, and they were just like, he is so fast at this, and I was like, there used to be a time where I was very embarrassed by that ability, but no, thank you.
Now it's a superpower.
Yeah, and it very much is. But then and I was like, oh, it's not that bad. And those I'm watching like the fiance, and she's getting like 4, and I was getting like 15. I was like, based off time and stuff like that. So yeah. We can also try to do Heads Up sometime like that.
Yeah.
Do we just want to turn this into a games pod? No, that's a different podcast.
No, but we could do that every 10th.
Yeah, we can do special things.
Yeah. It's not like we have a shortage of things to talk about. We're talking about just as many things during one podcast that we're trying to talk about just one thing. We'll talk about 100 things at the same time.
Absolutely. And if you would like to see us do something special on the 20th podcast, why don't you drop that in the chat for us this week? But until we see that...
I think we've said things like this. Where's the chat? Where is the chat?
They know.
Okay. Hey, if you know, you know.
If it's there, it's
because if you're watching this on the Spotify, there's not a spot. Unless you're watching it on your phone Spotify, because then there's a question that you can answer.
Yep.
If you're watching on your computer Spotify, there isn't a place.
No.
If you're watching this on the YouTube, there is a place.
Yep.
Which you left a comment on it last week.
I did.
Was that an Octobear?
Yeah, Octobear. Yeah.
Octobear. That's what we should have done. Is we should have talked about. I mean, I only got one submission, but it was amazing. Here, I'll put it right here. Wait. I can't remember how this is going to look. Is it right here?
Is it me in a blue shirt or green shorts?
It's the one from camp.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure it's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. It was pretty fantastic. I cracked up hard when this gentleman submitted it.
Yeah. So shout out to Jonah. Who submitted this? He submitted it. It looks like a Hindu god a little bit, but it's brilliant. I mean, you can see it if you're watching on a video. You can see it right now on the screen.
Yeah, the fact that he photoshops a bare face over top of me, and then just cuts out my arms.
Yeah, I did have fun making the little TikTok clip of that and just adding a bunch of tentacles and bare faces. But anyways, all right. Hey, let's wrap this bad boy up.
All right, this has been the Level 5 podcast with Jeremiah and Jesse. And before we leave today, we want you to know two things. One, you are loved.
And number two, you might die tonight. We love you.
Get out of here, you silly kids.
You crazy kids, you.